Anfield is a boiling pot of transfer drama. While Andoni Iraola snubs a Klopp reunion to build his own pressing machine, a £100 million Wonderkid has emerged on the radar. But it's not all good news. PSG have slapped a $150 million price tag on our top target, and Federico Chiesa has just begged to leave the club. Is the Iraola era starting with a masterstroke or a massive headache? Let's get into it.
Rejected. Bradley Barcola drops transfer bombshell amid $150 million Liverpool interest. What happens when your top target to replace a legend like Mohamed Salah decides he's actually quite happy exactly where he is? Liverpool and Arsenal are finding out the hard way as the pursuit of PSG's Bradley Barcola hits a major roadblock. Despite being particularly keen on the 23-year-old Frenchman, the Reds have been dealt a blow that could force them to rethink their entire summer strategy. Is Barcola playing hard to get, or is the dream of seeing him in a red shirt officially over? The backstory is a classic case of a player being overshadowed but remaining ambitious. At the Parc des Princes, Barcola has often been the bridesmaid to the likes of Ousmane Dembele and Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. He didn't start any of PSG's last 4 Champions League games, which usually screams transfer request. Liverpool saw an opening, a chance to bring in a winger with 20 goal involvements who could take over Salah's mantle. But former manager Claude Leroy has thrown a spanner in the works, claiming Barcola has no intention of leaving Paris anytime soon. The conflict is now financial and tactical. PSG have reportedly slapped $150 million, £86 million price tag on his head, matching what RB Leipzig want for another Reds target, Yan Diomande. The drama is whether Liverpool are willing to pay a world record fee for a player who might not even want to move. Barcola's entourage is pushing for game time guarantees, but with Luis Enrique settled at PSG, the pathway might be clearer than Liverpool first thought. Looking at the facts, Barcola has registered 39 goals and 37 assists in 152 games for PSG and has been included in France's squad for the 2026 World Cup. He is high quality, no doubt. Liverpool are reportedly working towards a quick agreement for alternatives like Diomande, but the Barcola link refuses to go away. If a deal for the primary targets falls through, we could even see a battle with Arsenal for AC Milan's Rafael Leao, who has confirmed he wants out of Italy. My honest take, Barcola is a proper talent, but chasing a player who isn't 100% sold on the project is rubbish business. At $150 million, you need a player who is ready to run through brick walls for the gaffer. If he's hesitating, we should pivot to Yan Diomande or even Leao immediately. We cannot afford another summer of will they, won't they. Is Barcola worth the wait, or should we move on to someone who actually wants to be at Anfield?
No Klopp reunion. The shock reason Liverpool snubbed Luis Enrique for Andoni Iraola. Why would a club of Liverpool's stature ignore a proven Champions League winner like Luis Enrique and skip a potential fairy tale reunion with Jurgen Klopp just to gamble on a man who's never managed a Big Six club? It sounds like madness, doesn't it? But as the dust settles on Andoni Iraola's appointment, the internal mechanics of the search have finally come to light. The Reds didn't just stumble upon Iraola, they deliberately bypassed some of the biggest names in world football to get their man. The backstory is one of clinical efficiency. Just 5 days after Arne Slot was relieved of his duties following a shock dismissal, Iraola was unveiled. While the fans were dreaming of Klopp returning to save the day or Luis Enrique bringing his PSG flair to Merseyside, the hierarchy of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards had already closed those doors. Klopp was never consulted and a reunion was never on the cards. Enrique was ruled out immediately because he settled in Paris. The club wanted a specific profile, someone who plays the intense front-foot football that Anfield responds to, and they believed Iraola was the only man for the job. However, the conflict is already brewing, led by none other than Jamie Carragher. The Liverpool legend has raised serious questions about whether IRAOLA can handle the big personalities in the dressing room. It's one thing getting a tune out of up-and-coming youngsters at Bournemouth, but can he turn world-class stars like Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak into a £310 million pressing machine? Cara has warned that this appointment is dangerous because IRAOLA is still a work in progress, unlike Klopp, who arrived as a finished product from Dortmund. The facts of the search are telling. Liverpool didn't even interview another candidate. They were so set on IRAOLA's tactical patterns and his 4-4-2 system that they moved at breakneck speed to secure him. This wasn't a panicked hire, it was a calculated risk based on the Spaniard's 19-game unbeaten streak at his previous post. He's being tasked with fixing a squad that felt unaccountable under Slot, and he's already making plans to return to his old stomping ground to bolster the ranks. My honest take, it's a proper Moneyball move from the board, but it's one that carries immense pressure. If IRAOLA hits the ground running, he'll look like a tactical genius. If he struggles to manage the egos and the heavy expectations of a club that demands trophies, the board will look like they've been far too clever for their own good. Bypassing Klopp and Enrique shows massive confidence, but in football, results are the only currency. Is IRAOLA the right man to lead this pressing machine, or have we made a massive blunder by not aiming higher?
£100 million price tag. Why Liverpool are certainly interested in the new Bournemouth Wonderkid. Could a 19-year-old striker really be worth a staggering £100 million? Or are we witnessing the most inflated transfer market in the history of the game? That is the question surrounding Eli Junior Krupi, the Bournemouth sensation who has emerged as a top target for Liverpool this summer. With Andoni IRAOLA now in the dugout, the link to his former protégé is intensifying by the hour. IRAOLA knows him, the fans want him, but the price tag is enough to make even the wealthiest owners wince. The context here is a record-breaking debut season. Bournemouth plucked Krupi from Lorient for just £12 million last summer, and under IRAOLA's tutelage, he exploded for 13 Premier League goals. He's not just a poacher, he's a finisher who smells the opportunities, as IRAOLA himself put it. Now that the gaffer has made the move to Anfield, the speculation that he'll want to bring his star pupil with him is reaching fever pitch. Bournemouth, however, are no longer a stepping stone club and are prepared to demand a massive premium. The drama lies in Liverpool's current attacking riches. With Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak already in the squad, do we really need another central striker, especially one that costs 9 figures? The conflict for Richard Hughes is balancing the books while satisfying the new manager's tactical needs. Some experts, like former scout Mick Brown, insist Liverpool are certainly interested because Krupi is performing at a level that attracts every top club in Europe. But £100 million for a teenager, that's proper money for a player who is still technically a work in progress. The facts speak for themselves. Krupi's 13 goals placed him joint 9th in the league, scoring from long range, volleys and instinctive strikes. He is a multifunctional threat. While Liverpool are being tipped to prioritise wingers to replace Mo Salah, the opportunity to sign a player many consider one of the best in the world in his age bracket might be too good to pass up. Bournemouth are willing to sell, but only if an outrageous offer arrives that allows them to rebuild. Here's my honest take. Krupi is a proper player, no doubt about it. He has that oomph that IRAOLA loves, but spending £100 million on a striker when we have bigger holes to fill on the wings feels like a luxury we might not be able to afford. If we land him, he could be our version of Kylian Mbappe, but if he fails, it's a £100 million millstone around the neck of the new manager. Should we break the bank for Krupi, or is that money better spent elsewhere?
The last reunion? Salah, Alisson and Fabinho spotted together as the end of an era hits home. Is it getting a bit dusty in here, or is it just the sight of the 3 men who defined the most successful era of modern Liverpool history sharing one final embrace on the pitch? As the World Cup looms, the images coming out of the Brazil versus Egypt friendly have sent the Anfield faithful into a proper spiral of nostalgia. We saw Alisson Becker, Mohamed Salah and Fabinho laughing and swapping stories after the full-time whistle, but behind those smiles lies a harsh reality that every Red is currently trying to process. The context of this meeting couldn't be more poignant. Before, these three were the spine of a team that conquered the world. Now Alisson stands as the solitary survivor of that legendary trio still wearing the Liverpool kit. With Fabinho already settled in Saudi Arabia and Salah having officially departed Anfield by mutual consent following the 2025-26 season, this reunion felt less like a friendly chat and more like a closing chapter. The trio spent 5 glorious seasons together, bringing home 6 major trophies, including that elusive Premier League title and the Champions League trophy that defined a generation. The conflict for the fans is the sheer speed of this transition. While Alisson remains the club's undisputed number 1, preparing for his 3rd World Cup as Brazil's first choice, the void left by his mates is massive. Salah's departure in particular has left a gaping hole in the attack that the new gaffer Andoni Iraola is desperately trying to fill. There's a certain tension in seeing our greatest ever Premier League goalscorer looking so relaxed in another shirt, knowing that the Egyptian king won't be lining up at the Kop end come August. Let's look at the numbers because they are staggering. Over 9 years, Salah made 435 appearances and bagged 255 goals, statistics that make him a certified legend. Fabinho, our midfield lighthouse, made 219 appearances before his lucrative move to Al Ittihad. Alisson himself has 332 appearances and 137 clean sheets to his name. These aren't just players, they were the gold standard. Seeing them together reminds us of the glory days of the Klopp era are officially in the rear-view mirror. We're in a transitional phase now, and while it's great to see the lads are still close, the focus has to shift to who is going to step up and become the new Alisson, Salah and Fabinho for this next generation. Can Iraola find that same chemistry in this window, or was that trio a once-in-a-lifetime alignment of stars? Get in the comments, who is the one player from that era you miss the most?
He wants out. Italy, Federico Chiesa's shock come and get me plea to Juventus. Could we be about to lose another star winger just as the new era begins? Reports are circulating that one of our most high-profile attackers has essentially begged a European giant to come and rescue him from his Anfield nightmare. It's a situation that threatens to leave our front line looking dangerously thin, just as Andoni Iraola tries to implement his new attacking philosophy. Are we looking at a player who just isn't cut out for the Premier League, or is this a failure of management to integrate a world-class talent? The context of this plea is rooted in a frustrating 2-year spell on Merseyside. Federico Chiesa arrived with massive expectations, but during his first season he hardly featured at all. Even though his playing time increased slightly in his second campaign, it clearly wasn't enough for a player of his caliber. With Arne Slot now gone and Iraola taking over, many expected a fresh start, but it seems the Italian international has already made his mind up about where his heart truly lies. The drama has reached peak following an explosive interview with La Gazzetta dello Sport. Chiesa didn't hold back, stating plainly, "I'd like to return to the Bianconeri," referring to his former club Juventus. He claimed he never wanted to leave Turin in the first place and was essentially forced out by their management. This creates a massive conflict for Liverpool. Do we keep a player who clearly wants to be elsewhere, or do we sell him at a loss just to clear the air in the dressing room?
When you look at the facts, the situation is delicate. Chiesa is 28 years old, and while he's put in decent performances when called upon, he hasn't been the electric winger we hoped for. He has admitted that Juventus is always in his heart, and that he would never discuss money to make a return happen. Meanwhile, Liverpool are already being linked with replacements like Bradley Barcola, suggesting the club might already be planning for life after the Italian. The decision now rests with the gaffer and the recruitment team on whether they can afford to let him go. My honest take, if a player says he wants to go back to his old club, you usually let them go. It's rubbish having someone in the squad whose head is already in Italy. However, Chiesa is an out-and-out right winger, and with Salah already gone, we are desperately short of natural width. Selling him now for a small fee feels like bad business, unless we have a world-class replacement lined up immediately. We need players who are all in for the ARAOLA revolution. Should we grant Chiesa his wish and let him return to Juve, or should we force him to stay and fight for his place?
Bayern hijacked failed. Rio Nagumoho's three-word response to the German giants revealed. Would you have the bottle to turn down Bayern Munich and the legendary Vincent Kompany at just 17 years old, or would the lure of the Bundesliga be too much to resist? Rio Nagumoho has just proven that his heart beats firmly for Liverpool Football Club. Despite reports of a verbal agreement with the German giants, the Wonderkid has made his stance crystal clear, leaving Bayern to look elsewhere for their next superstar. It's a massive win for Andoni Iraola and a sign that the future at Anfield is still very bright indeed. The backstory is one of a rapid rise and a sudden threat. Nagumoho, who moved to Anfield from Chelsea, became the club's youngest ever league goalscorer back in April. His pace and flair are exactly what the fans want to see, and with Luis Diaz already at Bayern, the Germans thought they could stage a repeat performance. Vincent Kompany reportedly held direct talks and made personal phone calls to the teenager, convinced that he was the heir apparent to the forward line in Munich. The drama reached boiling point this week when Sky Germany suggested an agreement was reached. The tension among the Reds' faithful was palpable. Losing our brightest academy spark to a European rival would have been a disastrous start to the Iraola era. However, Nagumoho has previously called Liverpool the biggest club in the world, and it seems those weren't just empty words. The club took a tough approach with Bayern, refusing to even entertain an offer, and it's now reported that the Germans have officially moved on to other targets. The facts are incredibly reassuring. Nagumoho is expected to play a major role under Iraola, whose fast-paced system fits the youngster like a glove. Meanwhile, on the flip side of the squad's happiness, Federico Chiesa has reportedly sent a come-and-get-me plea to Juventus, admitting he never would have left the Bianconeri. While one star wants to fight for the kit, another is